Sweet. Not bad stream. All right, what's up, everybody? We should be getting audio and everything everywhere. We should be live all the places. Let's just give it a look-see and make sure. I don't know why this is saying we gotta... I don't need that in my life right now, that's for sure. Okay. Just want to make sure the sound is okay. All right, what's up, everybody? Okay, I don't like that, what I'm hearing. We should be getting audio and everything everywhere. We should be live all the places. Let's just give it a look-see and make sure. Oh, I guess that's just coming back out of there. That's why this is saying we gotta... Oh, now it's coming through. Okay, we are live. We're good. I got some cool stuff that we're going to do today. I'm excited, so we'll get the intro rolling. All right, welcome everybody. Sorry, I really should. I should have some titles, screens, or something that come across the screen when I do that. But we're obviously not going to have that, so we'll just roll forward with what we've got. Hopefully everybody's joining. I've realized that Periscope just doesn't like me, and so we just can't. Maybe if I do this, yeah, I can't. Stream to Periscope for whatever reason. We're going to keep trying. We're gonna make it work, but for whatever reason, we're unable to do so. Also, I apologize for wearing headphones today, but I got to be able to hear whatever background music I end up throwing up to let that go. So we'll let it happen that way. And I'm excited today. I have something I want to talk about, and I actually talked about this. This is one of the ones that I actually talked about with Sue over the weekend. We were gone. I don't know if you noticed or cared, but I did not do a stream on Friday, and it's because we went to Joshua Tree for the weekend, and every time we do one of these trips, I am just reminded how important it is that you take time away from your life. You just have to take time away, number one, to appreciate like where you are, appreciate your life, appreciate what you got going on, but also there's something so decompressing and relaxing and beautiful about going away, even for just a couple of days. For when we first started dating, I thought it was stressful. Like going different places, I thought it was an extremely stressful situation, and I didn't really like the amount of traveling that Sue always wanted to do. But then once I sort of like let it happen, and I wasn't quite as obsessed, I wasn't quite as anal about it or upset about it, I started to realize that it is a massively healthy situation to be in. And I don't know how much of it is just my upbringing or my background. I know I've spoken in the past, and I know that I come from a long line of like workaholics. We're like pretty insane about being always on call and always working and always trying to be the always trying to find the best way to do everything that you're trying to do, and really like just work and loving being alone simply because it gave you the space to just do more work. And I just realized, like, I don't know, I think it's healthier to take the approach of always taking care of yourself. And so anyway, I highly recommend anybody to take time, just randomly take time, because and the thing is, you kind of have to schedule it in advance, and you should probably once every other month at least take a weekend away. Just go get an Airbnb somewhere. That's what we do. But you'll forget to do it. Like we come on these weekends, and it'll be like the day before we're supposed to leave, and I will have forgotten that we're leaving the next day. And luckily, I don't have to ask my boss to take time off because I am my own boss. But scheduling time like that is hugely valuable and hugely important, and it helps for de-stressing, and it's just a really cool thing. So anyway, a lot of fun. Info. We had a great time, and Joshua Tree. We were back up in the like, not in Joshua Tree itself. We were in Yucca Valley. We were kind of up on a hill, and the view. Some of you may have seen. I posted the view that we had, and you might be like, "Oh, desert view, not that great. Like, it would have been much better." But being up there at night, especially, and just being able to look out, and like the wind coming through, and I come from the desert, so the desert's always got a very unique beauty to me. But it was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's not really what we're going to talk about today. So let's dive into it. I got this conversation that I had with Sue while we were heading into the park, and it hit me over the weekend because I saw this article on Politico. You may have seen this. Elon Musk's DC to Baltimore loop leaps an early milestone. You know that he is. They're trying to make this Hyperloop thing so that you can get between cities faster. So DC to Baltimore. I think they're trying to make it happen in 29 minutes. Oh, New York to DC in 29 minutes. And what they did is they were able to get DC to Baltimore. Let's see, what does it say? Really fast? Well, I don't know. Anyway, they're just making this thing happen really fast. And Elon Musk, to me, last week I talked a lot about Elizabeth Holmes. And Elon Musk, to me, is like what Elizabeth Holmes would be if she had been successful. And I think, in fact, you can look at Elon Musk and you can see some of the stuff that's happened with Tesla over the last couple of months. And you can kind of see even more of like the criticism that he's gotten for some of the things that they've been doing over at Tesla, the work hours and things. And you think, this is a guy who has such a passionate dream for what he's trying to make happen, and he's making it happen. Like Tesla existing, I remember I had a conversation before Tesla became popular. I had a conversation where I didn't believe that it was possible to have a luxury electric car. I had a conversation with people that were like, no, it's gonna happen. But this is like pre-Tesla even being on anybody's minds. But you can remember the classic example of the 4-minute mile. I think I mentioned that myself the other day. The 4-minute mile was something that nobody thought was even possible, and then it was possible. So, it's like you don't realize what you're capable of until it becomes possible. Let's turn this to. I want to turn it. There we go. And so with Elon Musk, I think it's the same thing. Like electric cars weren't a thing. The Hyperloop wasn't a thing. A lot of the consumer flamethrower wasn't a thing until the Boring Company came. Like, there are so many things that he just decided he was going to do. I mean, look at Richard Branson is another example of the same thing. This is somebody who decided, well, just because nobody else has ever had a transport company and a space company and a phone company, all this stuff, doesn't mean that it can't be done, right? And so that's kind of some of the stuff I was talking about last week with Elizabeth Holmes. Is we have to be careful putting her into a category that's like, oh, she's not like us. She's like crazy. She's something else. Because literally the only difference, this is a question I asked Sue, and this is the thing that kind of bothers me. The only thing that separates her from people like Elon Musk or anybody else is it was successful. Elon Musk was successful. Like the question that I ask, and this is the question that I would ask you to think about, if the day after they made that documentary about her, and there's all these people that are obsessed about it. if the day after they had published that initial article in the, I think it was the Journal, the Wall Street Journal, talking about all the negative stuff, if they had figured it out on that day, regardless of how or whatever happened, that's not really the important thing here, but let's just assume that she figured it out that day, would the documentary have been made, the one that we just saw? And my belief, my answer is no, it wouldn't have. Because in the tech world, and when we talk about advancements, that type of advancement in technology, we as consumers are very quick to ignore the means. The ends 100% justify the means. I mean, think how long it took before anybody had anything bad to say about Steve Jobs publicly, like in a mainstream way. A lot of people didn't like him, and a lot of people said so in sort of their own little circles. But think about publicly, how long did it take us to realize how much of an asshole he was? And yet, it's split pretty much 50-50 on whether you think that's something, like, I love people, business guru types. Gary Vee said this one time. It makes me laugh. It's so ironic that they have these big time business people that will say, I don't approve of Steve Jobs' methods, and they do so live streaming while they're working on a Mac. Right? Or they have their iPhone out. And I get it. I get that he didn't make the most recent things or whatever, but it's just funny to me how they don't justify his behavior, but they're okay with the ends, with the output, with what he was able to come up with. And same thing with Tesla. Like, there was a time there where there were some people complaining about work hours at Tesla and like the benefits and some of the other things, like conditions at some of the factories and some of those things. And in fact, and this is not confirmed, not that anybody cares, or not that anybody that's listening to me is going to make a huge fuss about this, but I've actually heard that the process of making the batteries to run Teslas is actually more detrimental to the environment than driving a gas car. I don't know how true that is, but anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's what's on my mind. This stuff has come up, and it had some popularity for a little while, but then what happens? They come out with a new car. They come out with a new feature. It's working. People are driving Teslas down the street, and they love them, and it's like a status symbol to drive a Tesla. And because he was able to make it happen, to actually make it work, we don't look back and ask ourselves how many things did he fudge along the way to make it happen? How many times did he lie to investors to get funding to make something happen about their progress? I remember watching a movie, I think back in high school, about a car company that was making a car, and they had to roll out the prototype at an event, and the car couldn't go in reverse. Like the prototype couldn't go in reverse. And so they just told the driver that was showing it, you just go straight. If they need you to go in reverse, you just go straight and turn around. Like how this whole thing with Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos is only on everybody's mind because she didn't succeed. Like if she had actually made the box, if it had actually worked, regardless of forget the science, forget the fact that it would never work. It's impossible for it to work. Forget all of that. They said the same thing about the 4-minute mile. They said the same thing about electric cars. They said the same about a bunch of other stuff. Forget all of the technical details. If it had worked, we wouldn't care how she got there. And that's the unfortunate truth. Now, I think there's a lot that can be said with her about her jumping the gun and going from I have a dream to I'm implementing this dream without some crucial pieces in the middle, like paying your dues from an educational standpoint, really having a deep understanding of the science. And if you are not the scientist yourself, having legitimate scientists, mathematicians, people that are giving you real advice, they're advising you correctly to get you on the right track to make sure that it's actually possible. I think she took the approach of the dream will overcome all of the technical obstacles. And the truth is, the only way the dream overcomes the technical obstacles is with somebody who is technically minded, who buys into the dream, and then helps you come up with creative ways around the obstacles. Instead of, this is what it needs to look like on the outside, figure out the inside, right? There are a billion different ways that they could have gone about trying to do that. But I think the way that they went about it just speaks to her jumping the gun a little bit, going from dream to trying to make it a reality. But I think the important thing is we have to be very careful. Not just, I don't really care if people like or don't like Elizabeth Holmes. That's not my point. I don't really care if they like or don't like Theranos or Elon Musk or Tesla or Apple or Microsoft or whatever. It doesn't matter. People can have opinions on whatever. The problem is what we think about other people always turns around and impacts the way that we act ourselves, like what we actually do. And from a business standpoint, when you're operating a business where other people's money is involved, it's important to realize that you and I are both Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and Elizabeth Holmes all at once. Right? It's a failure until it works. And even then, sometimes it's just the phase one. If you get the prototype to work, that's fine. Can you make it happen at scale? And so it's important. It's like I said when I first started talking about this documentary, it's important to realize the difference between, like, not think about Elizabeth Holmes as being different than you, because she's not. We're all the same. It just didn't work for her. And that's not to say that it won't work in the future. Somebody else could take the idea after all the lawsuits go out or whatever and the patents are expired and all this kind of stuff. Somebody could probably pick it up and make it work. And it's a good idea. It's not that it's a bad idea either. It's just that it didn't work. And I think that it's because she jumped the gun. She tried to make it work too soon with not enough actual homework being done. And so, it's interesting. Another good example of this, by the way, and this ties perfectly in to that conversation, is Google. So Google's something that I remember in high school I took a stock market class, and back then Google had just barely started. I got into the internet when Ask Jeeves was legitimate competition and Yahoo was legitimate competition to Google. And Google's big thing was I'm feeling lucky. And I remember trying that out and being like, this is kind of cool. It'll just pick the first one and go there. Nobody thought at that time that Google would basically own the internet within 5 years. Nobody thought that. At least not at my level. And I was in high school, so what did I know? But nobody thought they were going to own the internet. And then they did. And then I remember, Google has come out with, in fact, there was an article I saw not too long ago, Google has come out with and killed like 75 products. And I remember some of them being really cool. And they just killed them. You know what I mean? They tried everything. I think one of the big differences between Google and other companies, not only do they have virtually unlimited funding to be able to go and try things, but they understand the value in trying something in order to determine whether it's possible and whether it's viable. So they're not just going to sit around and talk about whether something's viable. They're going to try it, right? So that's the difference a lot of times. People could look back and think, oh, Elizabeth Holmes should have sat down with a scientist and they would have told her that it wasn't possible. Well, no. I think that for the first 3 years of her company, I think she was doing everything right. She was making it happen. She was finding people to invest in the dream and the vision. She was trying to build something legitimate. It wasn't until further on where it should have become clear to her that it either wasn't viable or it wasn't possible given the technology and the minds that we had right then. And she should have made a shift. She should have taken the money she got from the investors and either said, this isn't working the way we wanted to, we're going to approach this from a different angle, or just given up on it altogether and just said, look, this isn't really going to work, but let's take our team, let's take the minds, let's take the ingenuity and stuff, and let's turn it into something else. Take what we've learned and build something else. But she persisted because she wasn't able to see her own flaws, which is something that Google has always, I think, been really good at. Even stuff that people really like the Google Inbox. I used Inbox religiously for several years, and then they killed it. And it's not like the worst thing in the world. They've taken a lot of the features from Inbox and just stuck it into Gmail. But that speaks to the fact that they're a little bit more forward thinking about some things. But the thing that I wanted to talk about, Google, so there's two articles that I saw with Google over the weekend. And the first one that I saw is just hilarious. So you may have seen this. This kind of made the rounds on some social sites. But Google, apparently, somebody bought a Pixel 3. I'm going to read this because this is hilarious. So there's this user, Cheetos with a Z at the end. Google only refunded the $80 for tax on the original defective phone. So he bought a Pixel 3, and then he was returning it to Google because the phone didn't work. Right? So he paid whatever, $1,000 plus, $100 in taxes or whatever. So Google only refunded the $80 for tax and then sent him 10 Pixel 3s. So what happens is they refunded the $80, which left $900 owed because it was the 128 gigabyte model. I'm just reading from the article. He went ahead and ordered a new phone in a separate transaction. So he bought one, he got it, it was defective, so he sent it back, and then orders another one. Well, Google, for whatever reason, Google told their shipper instead of like just refunding him the $1,000, they sent 10 Googles. They sent 10 Pixel phones to him, which I think is brilliant. It's hilarious. I don't think they did it on the purpose, but the article was talking about how passive aggressive Google is. Passive aggressive level $9,000 is what the name of the article is. But I thought it's just hilarious. Things like that can happen even at a company that large. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about, which kind of speaks to the passive aggressive thing, is Google and Amazon. And I had never really understood why Google and Amazon didn't really work well together, why you couldn't stream Amazon video to your Chromecast. I didn't really get the reverse because I've never really had any of the Amazon like Alexa devices and really known the thing there. But apparently they are ending that whole thing, and you can start. I haven't actually gotten it to work yet, but I think maybe the app just needs to update on my phone. But Google is now going to allow you to stream Amazon, or I guess Amazon's going to allow you to stream Amazon in video to your Chromecast, which is, I think it's just pretty cool. Like, after however many years, for whatever it was, whether it was somebody who had a bad taste in their mouth with working with somebody else at the other company, or they thought each other's were competition, or whatever it is, them being able to realize that consumers will benefit, like they will benefit from the fact that consumers like the fact that they're, embracing each other, so to speak. I think it's pretty cool. So, anyway, that's it's just kind of a cool thing about Google and Amazon figuring some things out, which is kind of fun. So anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks everybody for joining. One of these days, I promise, I get so sad because a lot of people are giving Jack, what's his face, the Twitter guy, Jack Dorsey, a lot of shit for just Twitter in general. And part of me wants to just quit Twitter, but part of me wants Twitter to work so badly. There's just something about it that's just, I just want it to work for me. Like I want to not have Instagram, and I want Instagram to not be the place where I get the most engagement, because that's where all the people that have anything to do with me are, or Facebook. Like I really want it to be Twitter. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I'm holding on to hope. This is my Elizabeth Holmes scenario, by the way. Luckily, this isn't going to hurt anybody, but I just believe I hope beyond hope, and I believe beyond belief that somehow this is going to work out, and I'll be able to use Twitter more. So let me explain this to you why. So my dream is for all of my communication, 100% of it, to happen via Twitter, direct messages, tweets, everything. Like I don't want to text. I don't want to working with clients. I don't want to do email. I want to get rid of Slack. I want to get rid of everything. I want everything to happen via Twitter. So direct messages with clients, tweets if people want things, referrals, videos that I'm putting out. I want to kill Instagram Live. I want to kill Facebook Live. I want to kill YouTube. I want to do everything through Twitter. I don't think I'm going to get that, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try, and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to really push for it, because it's something that I think can really happen. So Anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for hanging out. I'm going to play out, and we'll see you all tomorrow.